Welcome to Bella Vista Gardening. I'm Jerry Horner, and with me today is Fran Zimmermann. Fran's a fellow member of the Bella Vista Garden Club. And today we're going to be talking about gardening in September, and we're going to be talking about something new to plant, new for fall plantings. Sometimes you get into the rut and have the same flowers over and over, and we found some unusual and different flowers to plant in the fall. And fall doesn't just mean September, it's September, October, depending on the weather. So you want to kind of gauge what you're planting based on the weather. If it's still too hot in September, you want to, move that to early September, or October, but you can start planting in September. And we did find some really wonderful new plants that you can put in your garden for September. We have some photos of some of these plants, and the first one is the viola.
Well, actually, it's the panola.
Panola.
It is a hybrid between the viola, which lasts a long time, and the pansy, which has a large bloom. So you get a large blooming plant that lasts a long time, and it loves the cool weather. And there are many different varieties, too.
Yeah, this is the multiple colors. They have multiple colors.
Yes.
And then this one is called
Sunburst.
Sunburst.
Yes, and that would,
that would really pop in your garden.
And if you're a USC graduate, you'd really like it. Anyhow, it's just beautiful.
It is.
And this, for a softer look, is Panola Pinks and White.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful mix. And it is just the newest new prize for fall planting among some of the garden shops. And
we should be able to find these locally. Yes. Some of your gardens like Bradford or Garden City or Westwood, you may not find them at the box stores.
No, but the potting shed in Bella Vista.
The potting shed in Bella Vista. So locally you can find these at your little nurseries. And then also your alliums need to be planted in the fall. And I don't have any of these in my garden, the family, but they're just a beautiful big spiky plant. This one's called Miami, and it would really make a statement in your garden in the spring, in the early summer.
Now, isn't allium in the onion family?
It's in the onion family, and the garlic's in the onion family. So it's a bulbous plant. And then this one is called Spider, and it's really pretty. It's real spidery looking, wispy. So that would be another new addition to your garden. Instead of the usual allium is more compact and firm, the bulb or the bloom. And these are more airy and wispy, so they're just a little different. So.
And next we have some Dutch iris, and the first one is the Lion King, which I just got a huge kick out of. With its coloring, it looks like a little lion from a distance.
Right.
Now the Dutch iris take less space. They're shorter than your bearded iris. Right. They can be cut better for cut flowers. Bearded iris doesn't work really well in a vase, doesn't last very long.
They last about a day.
Yes.
Maybe the new buds might open if there's more buds on the stem, but fall is the time for planting
irises.
All irises.
All irises, yes, and for dividing those you already have.
Right.
The Dutch iris are earlier bloomers than the bearded iris.
Right.
So if you want to stage it out, it'd be nice to have some of those. Then this is the Dutch iris red ember.
That's a beautiful color, isn't it? It would really stand out in your garden too. So you're used to seeing the blues and the whites, but these different colored iris really do add something different to your garden. And then we have the grape hyacinth. This one's called Azure. And I have grape hyacinths that kind of naturalized. They've kind of spread all over the garden, but they're so pretty when they come up. They're just very short, but they just add a little pop of color here and there.
This Azure one is very different.
Isn't it different?
Do you think that, I think that we probably need to order that, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to try to find that one. It's really different. It's really cute. And then we also have the crocus. And these crocus, this one's called Orange Monarch. And they bloom about 2 weeks before the large flowering crocus. And there's different varieties and species. There's a species crocus called snow crocus or wild crocus. And then
there are four of them. The four of them we're talking about today, and they all are in this species kind of category.
Right.
They're a little smaller than your
larger.
more common crocus.
Right, yeah. And then there's also one called Cloth of Gold. And this one apparently is in the Thomas Jefferson garden at his estate
In Monticello.
at Monticello. And it's really unusual. You can see how they just kind of pop up in the little tiny blooms there. So they're just really cute. And then we also have another crocus. This is the wild crocus called Tricolor. That's very cool. That'll add a lot of color to your garden instead
it's
of just
beautiful.
the blue.
And it's beautiful planted in a mass like that. You know,
It really is.
It's pretty.
Yeah. And then they also have one. I'm going to have to order this one. It's called Saffron. And you can harvest the saffron. You can, I don't know if you can see the little stamens or pestils coming out of there. It's actually what you buy for saffron seasoning. And it's very expensive when you buy it. And so you can harvest your own saffron. And I just love saffron and rice and some casserole dishes. And
Right,
it's
you
really
can start a
good.
little cottage industry right out of your home.
Right, a little cash crop there
Right.
with your saffron. And then this one is such an unusual one. I just found this online. It's called a checkered lily. And it just looks like it's just little checks. And it's a smaller variety. It's not as hardy as some of the other bulbs. That you may have to, plant 20 to get 10. It's just
shorter too.
And it's shorter. And but it's just such a good addition. Once it's established, you've got something that's really different here. So we're thinking if you plant something different in the fall that you haven't planted before, there's so many new varieties out there.
Oh, yes, there are.
And some of these varieties aren't that new. They've been around for a while, but you just don't know about them.
Right, right. They haven't been in distribution or whatever.
And they're not as popular maybe, but they're just so different for your garden.
Well, we've shown them some new ones today, but the other plants that prefer to be divided or planted in the fall are Easter lilies, stargazer lilies, and wildflower seeds. This is a wonderful time to sow wildflower seeds. Take a tip from the wildflowers themselves. They're dropping their seeds now, so now is the time to do it.
And what you really just need to do is kind of scrape an area, clean it off of weeds and anything, and just kind of open up the ground. And then plant your wildflower seeds, just lay them down in there. You can mix it with sand or flour sometimes so you can see where they are. And then just maybe top dress it a little bit with more sand or soil just to coat them, to protect them a little bit. And you can have some wonderful wildflower beds. But they need to be planted in the fall.
Right.
When it's not too hot.
Yes, yes, that's true, when it's not too hot.
Because then you'll be out there watering, and they may get too much water or not enough water. So you maybe wait till end of September, early October, even for the wildflower seeds. So, but
another plant to plant in probably early October, sometime in October, is the creeping phlox. And we see that a lot here in Bella Vista. And it's such a beautiful spring flowering plant.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful ground cover.
It will take better if you do it in the fall rather than in the spring.
I have had very little luck planting it in the spring. I have tried in the spring, taking little sprigs and planting it, and it just doesn't survive very well. And I think if we plant it in the fall, it has that time to get established in the garden and get its roots down, and by spring then it's ready to bloom. But spring planting of that hasn't been very successful, so we have to plant those in the fall.
Right, and peonies. Peonies have been in our grandmother's gardens forever, but
and they want to be divided in the fall.
Definitely.
They don't like to be divided in the spring. They need that winter time to settle in, and we do have a little DVD with Beth Strickland has produced this DVD. It's called Take Root, and she's now doing these little short DVDs, how to do things in the garden, and she's got one about dividing peonies. And so we're going to show you how you actually divide your peonies today with her Take Root program.
And this is part of the Master Gardener program.
Yes, it is.
Welcome to the garden. Well, it's a beautiful fall day here in Northwest Arkansas. It's time to slow down, clean up the garden, and think about putting the garden to bed for the winter. Well, October is traditionally the time of the year that we transplant and divide herbaceous peonies. Now, peonies are an old-fashioned garden staple. They're very long-lived. They can stay in the same location in the garden for decades. But when light conditions change like they have here, it becomes necessary to transplant and divide them. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. To begin, start by cleaning up the area around the site and cutting down all of the old dead foliage. Peonies are susceptible to fungal diseases, and if the fungus is too bad, it can kill your plant. To keep the fungus spores from spreading, do not compost the leaves and remove them from the garden completely. Using a garden fork, make a circle around the plant and gently lift it out of the ground. Once you have the peony out of the ground, be sure to take special note of the little pink eyes at the top of the crown. These will eventually become stems and next year's flowers. You'll need to make sure you have enough eyes on each set of roots when you divide so that you can maximize your survival rate for next year. Using a pruning saw or even an old chef's knife, cut through the toughest portion of the crown as you make your first cuts. A cut down the middle is a good way to begin. Gently pry the pieces apart. At this point, you need to decide how many divisions to make. It all depends on what you want. A maximum number of small plants or a few larger plants. You may want to keep these as 2 large halves, and it'll take a year or 2 for them to return to their mature bloom. Herbaceous peonies prefer full sun and well-drained soil. Their eyes should be no more than 1 inch below the soil surface. This is the most important thing I can teach you about planting peonies. If they're planted too deeply, they simply won't bloom. Fall is the best time of the year to divide peonies because they have been storing energy in their roots all summer and also setting their buds for next year. That's all there is. This peony is well on its way to its new life in the garden. For the Benton County Master Gardeners, this is Beth Strickland.
Well, Beth has just done a great job of these little take root episodes. We'll be showing more of those as we continue on the programming. She used to do the Meet the Masters videos or DVDs, and we've shown those in the past, but now she's on to these little hints how to do different things and showing you how to do that. It's great, so you can actually see how to divide your peonies. And like she said, it's really important to have at least 4 eyes in your plant, because otherwise it won't bloom. It has to be a fairly good size plant, peony, before it blooms. And then it just keeps blooming and blooming. So they're a great addition to your garden. And I don't think we're having a fall plant sale for Garden Club this year.
No.
But you may find peonies, in other areas and in the nurseries. But the fall is the best time, is the only really good time to plant peonies.
Well, what else can we be doing in September?
Well, September we do need to work on your garden a little bit. I mean, August we just watered and deadheaded. And
yes.
We didn't really have a bad summer this year. We had a mild summer, and the worst heat was at the end of August, and we don't know what September is going to bring. It may be a little hotter than normal because we had such a cool June and July. So you have to just base your planting on the weather, and if it still feels too warm to do some of this planting, just kind of put it off for a week or 2 until it cools down a little bit for your fall planting. But your annuals, just keep deadheading those. Sometimes you have your annuals blooming into September, October, and even into November, if we have a mild fall. And just keep fertilizing until September. And you want to think about saving your seeds.
Yes.
For your plants. If
Yes.
you want to save seeds to plant in the garden next year, like
Yes.
your marigolds and your columbines.
And yes.
And columbine seeds really need to be planted in October. They do better if they are put on the ground because they drop their seeds.
Right, they do a good
early.
job. They're all over my yard.
Right, and they kind of naturalize everywhere. They're just wonderful.
Well,
but
and then there's perennials too,
perennials.
in addition to the annuals. You keep deadheading them. They'll need to be deadheaded, and divide those that are overcrowded. Now is a good time to divide the spring blooming perennials. We've talked about some of those. Perennials benefit from fall planting because they have time to grow some roots and get established.
Right.
In the fall is when most of the plant's energy goes into the roots, into the stems and the roots.
Right, because they're not producing flowers as much.
Right,
So.
so they get a good head start.
Right. And then mums are really coming into
Yes, they are.
bloom
Mums are
now.
definitely coming into their own. They're doing really well.
Right.
And
it's a good time to add the mums, where you need some color.
Yes.
You don't think about it in the spring. And then in the fall you think, oh, I wish I had a mum there. So, get a mum and put it in the area
Right.
and, plant them in the fall.
And there's some beautiful, unusual colors of mums
there are,
too.
yeah. Look for something different, that would pop in your garden.
And of course, water when you need to. That's really important.
Right.
But here's an idea you may not have thought of. Hostas and daylilies. They can be divided in fall or in spring. But doing it in the fall ensures that they get established. They'll be doing they'll be doing all their work with the roots then.
Right.
And are less likely to look disheveled. If you wait till the spring and move them around and divide them and replace them, they look kind of scraggly.
Yeah, they do for a while.
For a while. This
and then
way-
they recover. But this way they'll look great in the spring if
Yes.
you divide them in the fall.
Yes.
They really will. And then the roses, we've had very few Japanese beetles this year. And I think I've had 4 that I saw. But hopefully they're on the way out. I don't know. But the roses will be putting on a fresh set of blooms in September, but you don't want to fertilize after the first part of September. And keep deadheading and checking for black spot or diseases.
Oh,
But
yeah, the
they
dreaded
put
black spot.
Their fall flush of blooms will be on the roses pretty soon. So.
And when you check for black spot, it's really important to pick those dead leaves up off the soil. Otherwise, you're just encouraging the
For
fungus
next year.
again.
Right.
Yes.
Clean up those leaves
you don't just
and throw them
look-
in the trash.
Right.
Don't put them in your compost. But,
Right, exactly.
get them out of your garden completely. And those spores will just spread for a long way. Not just where that plant is. It may spread the air will take that spore to a plant that's 10,
Right.
15 feet
So you gotta
away.
be careful.
So.
Well, many of us have lawns, and they require a deep watering of at least 1 inch per week. Really. That's the best thing. Late September is really a good time to overseed.
Right.
If you have fescue, it's a wonderful time for the seed to get established. If you have a bare spot, you can put your fescue seed in there and then cover it with some clean straw.
Or you can just cover it with your compost, some compost.
Yeah, that works well.
really
Light
light
cover of
compost,
that
yeah.
works well. And also apply your fall pre-emergent herbicides,
weed
killers.
control,
Yeah,
yeah.
weed control.
That's the time to do that, is get those weeds under control before they start.
Right.
Weeds have been terrible this year, everywhere. The trees and shrubs are also, it's a good time in September, October to plant your trees and shrubs. And it's most successful because, like I said, they have that winter to get their roots established,
Yes.
and they're not putting out leaves or doing anything else, or flowers, or they're just working on getting their roots established. And next month's program will be about trees and shrubs in Northwest Arkansas, what's good to plant. So we'll be talking about that in October. So fall planting is really September, October, even into November. You can do some fall planting.
And the more mulch will help around your trees and shrubs, as long as it doesn't touch the bark.
Right, you're just going to leave it about 1 inch or so away from the bark so that moisture doesn't settle around that bark and cause any, disease, and keeps the insects away too. So.
Well, we are just starting a vegetable garden. My husband
fall
is,
garden?
Yes. I'm not sure, maybe spring by the time we get to it. But if you do have an established vegetable garden and you're doing fall work in it, now is a good time to get some vegetables to harvest and also to plant turnips, mustard, spinach, lettuce, and radishes until mid-September. But probably the most important thing that you can do for your vegetable garden all over is to really clean it up well in the fall. That's to take out all like diseased leaves and so forth, and don't put them in your compost pile. And one of the important things that many of us forget to do is to pull up the tomato plant entirely and trash that. Do not put that in your compost pile, because that can spread disease to the next year.
Right. Yeah, those are things you just don't want to put in compost. And this is also, fall's a good time to also get rid of those invasive plants. You know, if you have poison ivy or poison oak, anything that's invasive, this is a good time to treat that and try to get rid of those, because their energy's going into the roots, and then it'll take that chemical or whatever you use it'll go into the roots. So it's a good time to get rid of those pesky invasives you don't want. So,
right.
Anyway. But there's a lot to do in your garden in September. We've had a great year this year of gardening and blooming.
Pretty good weather.
It's been fairly good weather, and we've had some rain. We're still in a little drought situation. Lately, we haven't had as much rain as we need. But if you have any other gardening questions, in September, remember the Master Gardeners website is bentoncountygardening.org, and it's just filled with a lot of information. There's just a lot of information there. And the hotline is working at the Master Gardeners. It's available on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you just call 271-1060 and you'll talk to a Master Gardener, or they'll take a message and a Master Gardener will call you back. But it's a great resource at the Extension office. And if you do have something you just don't know what it is, you can't find the problem, that you have something on your leaf, you can't distinguish what it is, you can take that sample into the Extension office.
Yes.
And if they don't know what it is, they will send it down to the lab, I think it's down by Lonoke or something, and they'll research it for you and see what it is and see what your answer would be to correct it. So it's just a great resource we have here with the Master Gardeners.
For more information about the Bella Vista Garden Club, you can go to bellavistagardenclub.com, our website. And I'm proud to announce that it's been newly redesigned. It's easier to navigate, it's clearer, it's more up to date. In terms of visuals, it's really
It was easy
good
before, but now it's even easier.
Yes, exactly.
It's just got great headings, and you can find some great information on it. So.
And we're having a meeting the first meeting of the fall is going to be Wednesday, September 24th, and it's held at United Lutheran Church on Cooper Road and Forest Hills Boulevard. We're going to present scholarships to horticultural students. And
so we have 3 students from the University of Arkansas that are just delightful, and we're just waiting to hear their stories about how they got started in gardening, and it's the Dorothy Wallace Scholarship. And of course, Dorothy Wallace was one of our members years ago that was just an inspiration to everyone. She just loved to teach what she knew about gardening and design, and she was just a delightful member and a teacher, and so we've named our scholarships after her, so in her honor, as she's left us several years ago. But the scholarships are so important, and that's why we do these plant sales and have these fundraisers.
The card party.
The card party, and that's probably in March. And it's just a wonderful way to help the students pay those huge tuition bills, and hopefully they won't have too much debt when they graduate.
Plus, we really try to encourage study in horticulture.
Oh, yes. And the University of Arkansas is a wonderful university for horticulture. It's outstanding what the work they do.
Yeah.
And well, thank you, Fran, for joining me today. I really enjoyed it, and looking for new things in our garden for next spring. It'd be really fun to see what comes up and what it looks like and how it fits in. And I hope you'll join me next month if you have time to watch us next month. We'll have our show on trees and shrubs to plant in Northwest Arkansas. And I hope you enjoyed this program. And until next month, don't forget to stop and smell the roses.